Before I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, I took my health for granted and behaved a particular way. And after getting my diagnosis and going through troubling times, that has taken me to an extreme offset. And my behaviour has completely and totally and radically changed. But is it for the better or for the worse? Let's talk about it today. My name's Jacob and I've been living with inflammatory bowel disease for over 10 years. And today we're going to be talking about ulcerative colitis and extreme behaviours, because I've noticed a complete and total change in myself. When I look at myself from 10 years ago plus, completely different person. Let's talk about it. So you might have noticed I've already got some things written on the board, and I'm going to be first of all starting off listing behaviours before ulcerative colitis and today after ulcerative colitis, and then we're going to separate them whether they're positive or negative behaviours. Let's get into it. So, before I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, before I was having any issues with my health, I was having problems. Let's talk about it. The way that I treated my sleep, no schedule. And by that I mean, I went to bed whenever. I stayed up till 5 a.m. playing video games. I had no problems with missing out on sleep to play a little bit of extra World of Warcraft and then go into school the next day completely and utterly tired. I had no diet plan. And literally no thought into my diet whatsoever. I ate like crap. I ate terrible foods and I did not even think about the consequences of those foods. All it was I was hungry and I ate food. It was whatever food was available, whether that was sausage rolls, whether that was chocolate. It didn't matter. The nutritional content of that food did not matter. And I did have anxiety, but to a much lesser degree than I have now. And this was just general anxiety about anything that would happen. Unexpected health problems, whatever it was, I definitely had anxiety. I was, in general though, although I was saying I had anxiety, in general, I was a lot more relaxed and positive. Because there was nothing weighing down on me. I hadn't felt the trials and tribulations of general life. I felt a lot more positive in general. And I was relaxed because there wasn't things to worry about. There wasn't inflammatory bowel disease weighing down upon me. So we'll come back to this if I come up with more behaviours, because I think the most important thing is the changes that have happened in me since. So, I am now continuously, I always check the bathroom, the toilet, after I've been to the toilet. So I check BM. So we're going to write that for short. Check BM. That is, I'm checking my bowel movements, making sure that everything's all good and nothing is amiss. I'm just going to swap my pen out here. The next thing I do is I now eat at same time every day. I've become a creature of habit. Let's just write habit. And this is for a schedule. So I have become completely and utterly addicted to working to the same times every day, eating the same foods every day. I do things at the same times every day. And if I don't do those things at the same time every day, it causes me anxiety. So what happened? Why have I even got this behaviour? Well, it's from being in such a poor health state. I went from no schedule, no diet plan, hitting rock bottom with my gut, and that converting me to an extremist. And an extremist in the sense that I want to eat the same foods that I feel comfortable with, the healthy food, the foods I deem healthy, at the same time every day because it's working for me. I've completely gone from this extreme of no thought, no planning whatsoever, to the complete other end where Most of the foods at some point I've researched about them, I've decided that these foods are the foods that I'm going to eat. And I eat them I chose a time to eat my breakfast, and I never stopped eating it at that time. Could that be a detriment to me? Maybe. Could that be a positive for me? Almost definitely. But we're not up here yet. It definitely is something that causes me problems, especially when it comes to sleep. With my habit/schedule, my sleep schedule. I have a sleep schedule now. I did not have a sleep. Like I said, I've gone from no schedule from this extreme, where I would sleep maybe 2 hours, and I didn't care. I had less anxiety back then. 2 hours. Now, I must go to bed at the same time every night, or I'm getting angry about it. If I'm getting ready for bed 15 minutes later than I should be, I'm stressing out. So, this is definitely an extreme behaviour. Checking your bowel movements. That could be seen as a good thing. But I like to see, because I've seen the bad sides of it. Now I want to check to make sure. Sleep schedule. Definitely something I'm just very anxious about it. I have to do it at the same time every day. My winding down period is a lengthy one. I do that exactly the same time every day. I drink certain teas for my anxiety to reduce my thoughts. I exercise. And it's not just I exercise, I have to exercise at least a couple times a week. Otherwise, I'm getting antsy. I'm like this. I'm like, I need to do something. The other thing is, I feel like there's not much time left. So, urgency. And I don't mean urgency in the sense that I would typically say urgency in the sense that I have to go to the bathroom a lot. What I mean is, I feel like I need to take action now. I'm in my 30s now. Time is running out. Yes, this might not be directly related to ulcerative colitis, but it's part of my journey with ulcerative colitis. It's me as a person. I'm aging. I feel like now is the time to do things. I've wasted too much time. And not only that, urgency in the sense, how long have I got of health? How long am I going to be healthy for? I don't know. It's almost like a roulette wheel. Will I roll black and start flaring? Or will I roll red and continue being healthy? I don't know. How long have I got? So I'm recording videos every day for this channel. I might upload once a week, but this video you're watching now, I recorded back in October 1st. Today is October 1st. This is coming out in mid-December. I've recorded so much content because I just feel like I have to. I need to be 3 months ahead on recording. I need to schedule shorts for this whole month. I've scheduled a short every day for December, and that was back in September I created all these shorts because I've got this huge sense of urgency. Is it for the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? I don't know. That's something that future me will know. But right now, I've no idea. It's all a shot in the dark. I'm just feeling urgent. I am feeling urgent. I must act now. So urgency is definitely something. Back here, relaxed. There was no urgency. I was a teenager, early 20s, relaxed. I've got all the time in the world. I'm not going to get old. And if I do get old, I'll probably die. So why worry about it? Urgency. I'm in my 30s. I've been to the hospital for ulcerative colitis. I'm on a time limit. The clock has started. I haven't even had kids yet. That's going to be soon. What am I going to do? I need to be urgent. Will I have time to record videos if I've got kids? Who knows? I need to do things now. This is a huge one for me, is urgency. And all these things. Now, another thing that I do, behaviours-wise, is this is a bit of I don't even know what you call this. Maybe like a obsessive compulsive disorder. Let's write this down. A little bit of OCD. And I get this in many forms. And this is because not just in the medications I'm on, but definitely related to this anxiety I had before UC that has been exacerbated, taken to the extreme after UC. OCD. Number one, I'm on immunosuppressants, so I'm very wary and cautious of sick people. And I get kind of irritated if I'm near someone who's sick because I'm thinking, I'm at greater risk of getting this. Can I have some space? Why don't you wear a mask? You're ill. So I'm getting ill, people sneeze on me, I get ill for longer, there's more chances of me getting complications. Naturally, that makes you tend towards the extreme of trying to avoid people who are unhealthy. And I think there's a sort of natural, you don't want to be near someone who's unhealthy. We all have that, but it's taken to the extreme. It's pulled out, taken to the next level when you're on immunosuppressants because you know that this could be the end. You know, this could be the cold that takes you out. Jumping to conclusions. That's something that I do, but that was something I did before, exacerbated further. Jumping to conclusions. And what do I mean by that? So if there's a new health problem, a new health complication, you think you're dying. And that isn't helped by Google. You get stuck in what I've called in a previous video an anxiety spiral. You get out of control and you can't stop thinking about it. And it completely consumes your mind. However, having been through all this, it's not all things to do with anxiety and checking. I also have a greater sense of control. A greater sense of control. Is that an extreme? Maybe it's not an extreme, but it's definitely something that I've learned. You know, I've been through troubling times. I've been through periods where I thought I was dying. I've been through periods where I've been bleeding out my bum a lot. We'll just say that to say the least. And now I feel like I have a bit more control and, let's write this down, acceptance. I can accept my situation more. Just the other day, I work in an educational setting, been back there maybe 3 weeks, already had a cold there, haven't had a cold in over a year. I got some weird skin infection, and that could make me completely itchy. And you know what? I had this sense of control. I haven't itched it at all because I don't want to risk getting an infection because I've got OCD. I don't want to get scarring from itching spots. I've got greater control and I accepted my situation. And not only that, it ties into this whole sleep schedule. You know, sleep becomes even more of a problem for me because I'm thinking I need to sleep now. I need to sleep to heal. Sleep is one of the most important things. I need to do this. It's like a sense of imperative. These have now become imperatives encoded into my brain. I have to do these things. Otherwise, I'm not going to function. And that's the way I feel. So it's this extreme ideology. It's like an extreme healthy ideology. But is it truly healthy? I don't know. Let's talk about positives and negatives. So, I think a lot of these could weigh in the middle, which is sort of both. So, for instance, sleep schedule. Let's write this up. Sleep schedule. Now, I believe this to be a huge positive. I say it time and time again. These days, I get the best sleep that I've ever had in my whole life. My sleep was shocking before ulcerative colitis. I didn't take it seriously enough. I felt terrible. Maybe that contributed to me, getting a disease state. My sleep schedule was non-existent. I just thought I was one of those people that couldn't go to sleep at a normal time. I thought that I was a night owl. I was wrong. Because since addressing this problem and taking it very seriously, going to the extreme, it's only improved my life. I feel better. However, there are negatives. My sleep schedule. So it is here in the both section. Let's draw a little arrow. Because that leads to anxiety, which I will write up here. If I don't follow my sleep schedule, I get anxious. However, I get anxious about a lot of things. But, like I said down here, I do feel like I have a greater sense of control. Even though I do get anxious, I fall back on my schedule. I have control. That's the things I can do about it. Urgency. I need to do things. Is this a positive? Is this a negative? It's a bit of both again. Urgency. Spell urgency wrong, whatever. It's a bit of both because, on the one hand, ever since YouTube came out, back in 2007, I was in secondary school. I've been uploading videos. I've always wanted to create videos. Even before YouTube, I was creating videos. It's just something I've always been very interested in. I'm sure a lot of you are very similar to me. You like videos. Maybe one day you wanted to create videos. Something in the back of my mind has always said to me to create. But I didn't stick to it. And it's only now, when I've got this sense of urgency, that I'm actually doing it. So many years that I've wasted not pursuing my goals because you've got that self-critical feeling. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, it turns out you can do it. You just got to get started. And I'll tell you what, facing a life-threatening bout of ulcerative colitis really puts things into perspective. Why haven't you been doing those things? Why not? Well, I guess I'd better bloody start then. So that's why I'm making videos. I'm trying to make the most of it. Yes, I've got work in a bit, but I want to make a video before I go to work. I want to continue to create videos because it's my passion. So I feel like this sense of urgency is mostly a positive. How is it a negative then? Well, it's at the cost of everything else. I'm very much isolated. I spend most of my time at home. I don't go out and do social events. I don't do much of anything else. If I'm not working, I'm at the computer, whether that be for games or for my own endeavours like creating videos. I'm still basically the same person I always was. I haven't really changed. It's just the way that I do it has changed. Tipped over to a different extreme. Before, I was completely unproductive. There was no sense of urgency, whereas now there is. So what about my overall schedule, like eating at the same time every day? Let's just write eat, schedule. Just keep it short. I do believe this is to be a positive. Otherwise, why would I do it? But there is a negative side to it. Again, it's a bit of both, but mostly a positive. I avoid most foods I deem unhealthy. I've dubbed myself a diet zealot in that sense. I eat mostly foods with less ingredients. I eat foods I feel give me vitamins and nutrients. And because of that, I feel like I've got a lot more energy. I feel a lot better. So why have I put it in the middle as a bit of a negative? Well, there is that feeling at a social event where you feel like you need to join in and eat with everyone, but I abstain from eating the things that I deem unhealthy. I get very particular about when we eat out, and I get stressed out. Especially, this is a big one, when I'm in the supermarket, when you're hungry. Say you're hungry, you want to get something to eat now. Bar the fruit section and the vegetables and the uncooked meats. What is there in the shop? Yeah, you could get some nuts. Let's say I'm going in and I want to get a bit of chicken. I go to the meat section. I pick up the pre-cooked chicken. I look at the ingredients and you see sugar. And you see seasonings. And it's not that seasonings are bad, but I'm seeing sugar. It's probably a minuscule amount of sugar. And I think, oh, I can't eat this. I can't eat it. And I get really stressed out because I'm like, I'm hungry right now. What do I do? And then I go over and I want some peanuts. and I want 100% peanuts. I pick up the peanuts and I look at the back. Rapeseed oil, palm oil. Ugh, I can't eat these. Where are the 100% pure peanuts? And then I get stressed out and I'm walking around the shop like, what can I eat? What can I eat? I'm hungry. Fruit isn't what I want. I want meat. I get stressed out. So it can be a negative. However, I'd say for 90% of my diet and eating schedule, it's a positive. There's just that little 10%. It gives you a bit of stress in your life. OCD. This is a straight in the middle one for me. It's definitely more negative than my eating schedule. It is a positive thing in the sense, let's say I see someone who is ill. I don't want to be near them. I don't want to get sick. But in my experience, my thoughts about it haven't really dictated what's happened. For the past year, I didn't get sick once, but I worried about it a lot. Perhaps the worry stopped me from getting sick. You never know. But I feel like the worry was outweighing the positive of the OCD. So I would put it more on this side, err on the side of negativity with the OCD. Especially when it comes to the other forms of OCD that I experience. Say, for instance, I want to go to sleep and I need a wee. I go for a wee just before sleep, have a piss, and then I think, well, I better have a backup piss while I'm still here, wash my hands, and then I think, well, I want to be completely empty because I don't want to have to come back here. I'll go again, and then I wash my hands and think, oh, I could still feel a tiny bit. I'll have a little bit of a wee. And before you know it, I've been spending far too long there, and I've gone back and forth from the sink in the toilet, and this towel's now completely soaked, so I've dried my hands off 5 times. And I think, why didn't I just do it once and leave? I felt like I needed to. It's an OCD sort of feeling going on. I find this to be quite a negative experience. It's not something I really talk about that much, but it is something that affects me. Didn't affect me so much before, and now it's sort of like a manifestation of the anxiety in a way, that it comes out in these OCD methods that I do, and I don't really think about it. It's like at night time. As I say, it's a lot of toilet related stuff. I will go for a wee, and then I'll wash my hands and I'll turn the tap off and I'll go to leave and I'll think, oh, I need to make sure the tap's not on. And I'll push the tap down again, even though it's off. And then I'll push it like 2 or 3 more times firmly. And it'll be like, okay, it's definitely off now. Now I'll go. And I've had great problems with this in the past. It's all related to weeing at night time. Sometimes, like before, when my sleep was at its most worst, like the pits. This was with UC as well. I believe it to be a manifestation of anxiety. When I'm going through, say I'm flaring or there's a very stressful thing going on, then this becomes a huge problem for me. OCD comes into full force related to pissing. And one of the worst times was I just wouldn't sleep because I'd go for a wee, come lie in bed, and I'd lie there and I'd think, well, I've got to go for a wee. And that would happen like 11, 12 times. I don't need to wee that much. And it got so bad that I ended up just getting a piss bottle next to my bed and using that because I was like, I keep going to bed and I can't sleep. If I just get this little bottle, can wee in that, empty it out in the morning, and it would get to the morning and it would be completely full. It's like my body is pushing liquid out. So, yes, manifestation of the anxiety, OCD, definitely negative. Luckily, it's not very bad at the minute, and I think that's because I'm not very anxious right now, but it does display itself, and it is a negative thing for me. Jumping to conclusions. This is very just health-related. Conclusions. This is 100% a negative experience for me. And that's with anything health-related. Maybe you experience some sort of new symptom that you've never had before. Maybe you start flaring again. You jump to conclusions. Oh, it's the worst thing. Oh, it's the bowel cancer. Oh, it's this intense infection that's going to lead to, oh, I'm going to have meningitis. I'm going to be in a coma. I'm going to die. Jumping to conclusions is always a bad thing. And I try and tell myself, I have this internal dialogue now. When you're worrying about something, you're suffering twice, and it's pointless. Because you suffer once from the event, and then you suffer again when you worry about it. We don't need to do that. So I do find jumping to conclusions to be a very negative experience for me. And it's something that I have struggled with a lot throughout my life. So a lot of these behaviours I do find negative. Checking bowel movements. Let's just write BM. It's a positive thing. I'm keeping an eye, I'm maintaining, I'm making sure that there's no blood. It's good to keep an eye on it. Monitor your situation. The only times it becomes a little bit negative, doesn't affect my life too much, but that would be when I look down and, let's say I'm having a particular toilet time and I think, oh God, I'm flaring again, aren't I? It's that typical sign. Like anything that feels slightly amiss, you're like, oh, I'm going to see blood, aren't I? And I look down and luckily I'm okay. Touch wood. Swear I'm not superstitious. But I just needed to check. I just need to keep an eye on it. And it's almost like this trauma, this feeling of, you know what it's like to be flaring, you know how bad it is. So you want to keep an eye on it and make sure it's not happening. You want to make sure the worst isn't happening. It just sort of reminds you of that because, you got to go to the toilet every day. It reminds you of that time that was a big trauma for you. It really does. So, exercise. That's just a positive. The only times that exercise is really a negative for me, it can err towards the side of both, is that I tend to take it to the extreme again. I got into running recently. Never run in my life, I got into running at the age of 31. Body kind of has to get used to it. And I start running once a week and then suddenly I'm like, I want to run all the time and I want to do a half marathon. I need to train for this. So I start running twice a week, 3 times a week. And then suddenly my body's like, what the hell are you doing? We can't keep up with this. And now I can't run at the minute because I get intense knee pain when I'm doing it. So I tend to take these things to the extreme. Like, for instance, just the other day, I walk into the gym and I want to deadlift. And then I get this feeling, I'm like, oh, I want to load the weight up, put some plates on, deadlift. I want to put some more plates on. More plates, deadlift. And before I pull it, I'm like, this is not a good idea. This is a risk. And I know it's going to be a risk. Let's do it anyway. And I'm with my training partner and I say to him, don't copy me. Okay, I know that this is a bad decision. I just want to do it. So I do it, and then lo and behold, my body says, what the hell are you doing? We need to build up to this. And then I get back pain. Time and time again, I do things like that. And then say I want to get into deadlift, I want to increase my deadlift. I go from doing it 0 times per week to suddenly I'm doing it 2 to 3 times per week. And my body goes, whoa, this is crazy. You're suddenly lifting heavy and we can't recover from this. So that's when it's a negative for me. Because I tend to just go full force into it. When I want something, I go full force into it. It's this sense of urgency again. It does feed into everything in my life. I want to become great at it now. But there's a great quote from a podcast I did recently with a local martial artist called Ed Lofts. And he said, why a lot of people fall into this trap of trying to be great now as fast as possible. Why not think of it on a 10-year time horizon? How good can you get at something over 10 years? Suddenly, you don't have to go out and do that heavy deadlift because at some point over those 10 years, you'll probably reach that heavy deadlift and surpass it. Over those 10 years, you might increase your running time and surpass it in a way that your body can manage. Thinking about things on a 10-year time horizon suddenly makes things not so urgent after all. So, acceptance, that's just a positive. I wouldn't say that acceptance is really an extreme behaviour, but I would say that disassociation can be. Now, that is something that I could throw up on here. Disassociation. Disassociation. I have spelt that wrong. However, you know what I'm saying. Disassociation. So, that's when you almost have the ability to remove yourself from yourself and look at yourself from a third person perspective. Or even just pull back and not feel what you're feeling. Not associate with yourself. And this is something that comes into effect, for me anyway, when I was flaring very intensely. You disassociate, you pull back. It's like an extreme response to what's going on. And you become numb and flat, and everything becomes emotionally flat, numb. You don't react to things quite the same way. There's no ups and downs. There is only existence and suffering in a way. Existence and suffering. Yes, that hits quite heavy, but it's a coping mechanism. I would err on the side of positive because it gets you through hard times. It really does. But then at some point you have to start feeling again, and it can get tough. So, those were the extreme behaviours that ulcerative colitis has brought out in me. And I hope that's helped some of you. I don't know how helpful this really is in general. I just wanted to talk about it. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.